Hey, what's up everybody? Chris here, and I wanted to follow up the video I just published recently where I talk about Xbox consoles and which ones you might want to think about buying for your kids for the holidays if they're asking about Xbox. We're talking about Nintendo and the Switch options that are available, and I mistakenly noted in my Xbox video that I didn't think the original Switch, or I guess the updated original Switch with the newer battery life, was still a thing that's being sold, but it is. I was actually in Best Buy today and I did a little bit of digging on this. They still do manufacture that console, so you actually have three Switch choices to think about. Personally, I'm going to recommend two of these. I really don't think the middle of the road Switch, which is the original design, the non-OLED screen with the greater battery life, is really something most people would want to think about. I think you either need to consider either the Switch OLED model or the Switch Lite. Hey, as always, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and please be sure to subscribe. I think your decision when it comes to the Nintendo Switch really boils down to what your child is going to use it for primarily. So if you're going to be traveling a lot, if they're going to use it in a car environment, if it's something that you don't think the family is going to use as a whole, in other words, you don't really care if it's hooked up to a television, you don't really see yourself detaching the Joy-Cons that are with it and having sort of family game night, that kind of stuff, then I think the Switch Lite is really the way to go. And it's a super tough console. I can tell you a little bit about my experience with that with my children. So I have the Switch OLED model. Both of my kids each have their own Switch Lite. And one day, my 8-year-old, whom I strongly advise not to leave the Switch Lite lying around on the couch, left it there when he went to school. And so sure enough, our chocolate lab, Leia, found the Switch Lite, chewed on it for a good bit, but it survived miraculously. Now, we did have sort of a hard plastic case around it. If you do get one for a child, I strongly recommend, very strongly recommend getting a case for it of some kind. But he left it on the couch, it got chewed on. But really, the only thing that got messed up on it was the little trap door that you use to insert the game card. Everything else about the system was fine otherwise. That case mostly protected it. But the Switch Lite is meant to take some abuse like that, knowing that kids are going to drop it. They might spill things on it here and there. And obviously, if it gets dunked in water completely, it's probably not going to survive that. But it's a pretty strong, pretty resistant, pretty resilient piece of technology. So if you're on the go a lot, if you don't really care about other kids playing the Switch, you don't want to have one sibling share it with another sibling, you're not going to play it as the parent ever. You just want to give your child who's a little bit younger, and I think that's really what the Switch Lite is more intended for, sort of that younger crowd, younger children more potentially. If you want to give them something they can use on the go frequently, I strongly recommend the Switch Lite. However, if you do have multiple children and you want to get the Switch as sort of a family gaming system, right? You want to get it so that you can take the controllers off, you can buy multiple sets of controllers, you can play things like Mario Party, you can have a Mario Kart party, to use that word again, with kids in the neighborhood, that kind of stuff, then I really recommend the Switch OLED model. And the reason that I recommend that over the middle of the road standard Switch is that it's $50 more and you get an infinitely better screen with the system. So even though you're not getting the Switch Lite in this situation, you can still take the Switch with you on the go. Even in that OLED form, it is still highly portable. You can take it wherever you want to go. And that OLED screen makes all the difference in the world. It's way superior to the standard screen you get on the middle of the road red box Switch that's a non-OLED model. I highly recommend thinking about that, especially, again, if you're going to be using it in more of a family environment. The other piece to consider with the Switch OLED, as I just mentioned, is that it can connect to a television while the Switch Lite cannot do that, right? So when you charge the Switch Lite, you have to use the Nintendo charging cord to do that. The Switch OLED, you can put it in a dock, it charges, it connects to your television that way. It's really easy to use, it's a simple interface. But really, those two scenarios are the things you're going to want to think about when trying to make a decision about a Switch. Now, the one caveat that I would just sort of put out there as a point of consideration to all of this is that there have been rumors flying for years about a Switch Pro, a Switch 2, a true successor to the Nintendo Switch coming out sometime soon. The Switch launched originally in 2017, so here we are in 2022. The technology in the Switch, admittedly, is getting a little bit older. Now, don't get me wrong, it's got a fantastic library of games. There are a lot of things I love playing on my Switch. For me personally, Mario Kart is sort of the thing that I keep coming back to. But I do think within the next year or so, we're probably going to get a successor to the original Nintendo Switch. And actually, the next Zelda Breath of the Wild game, the follow-up to that original title that launched with it way back in 2017, is going to be launched in May. I would not be super surprised if Nintendo kind of shadow dropped a new console, a successor to the existing Switch models at that time, just to help kind of push sales. Who knows what Nintendo's going to do, though? They are a mystery. You can never really figure them out. It could be another 3 years before we get a new Switch. But I always like to sort of put that caveat out there when people ask me about the Switch. You know, what should I do? How long should I wait? That's just something you have to keep in the back of your mind. You could buy one this year, and 6 months down the road, they could announce a successor because, again, the technology is starting to lag behind things like the Xbox, even the Series S, Series X, and then the PS5. So I think that's cooking. They probably already have that design worked out. Who knows when it's going to get there, but you can't really make a decision based on what might happen. if you want to switch, if your children want to switch, these are the scenarios you need to think about. Anyway, if you have a Switch, let me know what you think the best option is. Let me know which model you have. Drop your comments down below and let's have a discussion about the Switch as it exists currently, the Switch of the future that we might get, in the next year, we might not get, who knows. But as always, thanks so much for watching.